Welcome, welcome, welcome to Caribbean Focus. I am your host, Hermina Marcellin, and joining us today is a Jamaican writer, a poet, um, a very close friend of mine, and I've met many years ago, starting on the poetry scene. He is a well known poet performing not only in the tri state area, but beyond to places like Africa, our motherland, Switzerland, England, and his hometown, Jamaica. He is also the organizer of the annual tribute to the African ancestors of the Middle Passage. And I would like to welcome Ras Osagyefo to Caribbean Focus. Welcome.
Yes. Welcome. And glad to be here, Mama Hermina. All right.
Thank you so much. Osagyefo,
Mhm.
you were the recent recipient of the 2019 Sarabida, am I saying that correct?
Yes, Sarabita.
Sarabida Awards. Um, Tell us about your journey in poetry. Where did it all begin?
First of all, don't ask me what Sarabita mean. I don't know. It's a organization, local poetry organization here in Brooklyn, and that's the name of their show, the Sarabita. But poetry for me started, I think, from boyhood days that I love poetry. I love rhymes, and I remember always perking up when teacher, would be have something to do with poetry. I don't know if you when you where you grew up, they have these little things known as extract that they would teachers would take out of a poem,
Mm.
and like it's like a tree line from a poem, and then that's you would have to learn those along the way. We learned those in school. Like there's one you know, there's one that I learned from way back. I don't know who wrote the poem, but it never left me since. It says, "Shun not the struggle, face it. It's God's gift." And that's just an extract from a poem. And when I was growing up, I actually thought they were standalone by themselves until I realized no, that extract mean you took it from a poem. So from boyhood days, the poetry was with me, but I didn't write my first poem until I was 18. That's when I wrote my first poem. After reading a book by Jamaica's, the founder of dub poetry by the name of Uku Onora. And he wrote a book title, let me see if I can remember the title, but it was Dread Beats or something like that. And but this poem, that was the first time that I ever saw the language that we spoke, the broken English, on a book, on the page, you know, and he had a poem and it says pressure drop, and that hit me because pressure drop was like hungry I twist my tripe, Lord. And he says the way in which he put the poem together, like he's talking, and we grew up hearing the word hungry I twist my tripe. That means you're well hungry when your stomach is twisting, and to see that and page that hit me. So that's how I started. That was my main inspiration.
And you have been described as a poet who spits fiery rhythm, or let me say rhythm, the rhythm them, right?
Yeah, man.
After a Billboard magazine review of a True Mystic Crew album.
Hmm.
So even in doing the True Mystic Crew album, tell us a little bit more about engaging in that process.
Yeah, true mystic sounds. It was a sound system with I would say it was like a garage music underground sound system, and what they would do, they build music, and then they took two of my poem and they put the words to it. I had no idea until someone came to me and said, Billboard just did a write up about you, and I had no idea the album was even out yet. It was the type of music that did good in Europe, so it blew up all over all over Europe. I've never heard the album. I've never heard it because it never made it to the American mainstream, but it did good in Europe, and you know. But it was one of those things that even after that I went to London, and in London, and a lady heard me, and she came over to me and she said, I produce garage music, and I want to work with you. I want to build music for you. So I always thought myself as a dub poetry. I don't know if you ever heard garage. Garage is like it's a faster tempo than reggae, than the dub.
Mm.
But somehow she believed that she could build these music. So maybe we lost contact, but maybe I should go find her and do that. Yeah.
One of the places that you've again performed is in Africa, as you just mentioned. How was that about? How Tell us about that experience in
Now,
Africa as a
Africa.
poet.
I was married to a lady from Liberia, and so we went home. I remember we went home, and it was a Wednesday night, and her brother said to me, in Africa we only work 3 days of the week, and he came to me on a Wednesday night and said, "Hey, the weekend start for us right now." And we went to this club known as the El Mizan, and they had a reggae band up there, and they were jamming, and I guess I just wanted to show off that it was a Jamaican in the house. So I went and I asked them if I could take the mic and you do something, and I took the mic, and I did I remember doing this poem about, it says, you know we are African, and it entails having the word, look, some of us are even bleaching our skin, but after a while, the African image will reappear after a while. And I guess it was divine, because after I stepped off the stage, an elder came over to me, and she just grabbed me and dropped to her knees and said, "Thank you for bringing home the message. Thank you for bringing home the message." You know, and after that, I was there for 3 weeks. So the band would always invite me to wherever they were performing, and I, did perform. So that's my key to performing in Africa.
And I want to piggyback on what was told to you in thanking you for bringing home the message. You have a powerful delivery on issues surrounding race, politics, the human condition. What is your poetic mission? What do you hope to accomplish?
That's a good question, because in the beginning, when you start to write, you were right. I started writing because my friends, it would blow their mind, you know. But in Jamaica, it's hard to escape politics. It's hard to escape suffering. It's hard to. I don't think you can grow up in Jamaica and don't see the difference in the haves and the have-nots. So I grew up. I remember there was this political giant in Jamaica. His name was Michael Manley, and then another giant by the name of Edward Siaga, and they were always wrestling. And Manley would say, power for the people. And he says, he had a slogan that says, there's no more, no bastard, not there again, meaning says, in Jamaica, if you were born out of wedlock, you were considered a bastard or something like that. And Manley believed that all of that, we are all children of God, and they would make fun of each other, like the PNP, the JLP would say one thing, and the PNP had a rebuttal or something like that. So I grew up with the have and the have not fighting each other, fighting each other over words. So I choose the have not side. So that's when I made the decision that I'm going to write my poem for the suffering people, for
Hmm.
those who didn't have a voice, and that's where it all started. It doesn't matter where I'm at in the world. Like, I give an example. I was in Brussels, and I got to Brussels, and I saw ghettos, you know, I saw ghettos, like, where poor people live, where black women pushing strollers and all of that. And immediately I remember they were in the car, all they had was a crackers box, a townhouse crackers box. And I just took it, and from that, I just started to write what I was feeling, So my poetry come from my feeling, from what I'm feeling deep within for the suffering of humanity. Yeah.
And indeed, you do write for those who are oppressed,
Mhm.
speaking on the issues that plague the oppressed. And even in your book, Psalms of Osagyefo, chanting down Babylon, again aligns with that mission of being the voice of the oppressed. Tell us more about this book of poetry that you've compiled.
All right. So charting on Babylon, Psalms of Osagyefo, that I wanted to be, in everything, I think, what's the name said it best, you know. One of my great poets, he passed on, Ami Baraka. He says we must be the lantern, by any means necessary. If you have to go, if you have to, it's like what he's trying to say is like you have to, whatever, if you have to come in burning down the place, then you come in. But that's the work of a poet. That's the work of art, and you have to make that conscious decision then. So when I read the Psalm of Osagyefo, I remember hearing growing up that you cannot add anything to the Bible. The Bible is set in stone. You do not change it. And then as I grew up, I realized that Psalms, they are poetry. And I read the book of David, and like, those are poetry. And then I found another book, the Odes of Solomon. You know, the Odes of Solomon is another poetry book that's not in the Bible, but it's very prolific poetry. And then I read the Quran, and wait a minute, this is all poetry here. And then if you go and you read the Brabagati, this is all poetry. This is all poetry. You read what Moses was writing about, Moses writing prose and all, and I'm like, whether or not Moses wrote them, I don't know who wrote them, but it was all written in poetic form. So that's when I say, something, I'm gonna add my 2 cents to the Bible. Yeah, I'm gonna add my 2 cents to the Bible. So I name it Psalms of Osagyefo, chanting down Babylon, because that's what the Psalms of David was about. Chanting down Babylon. Babylon in those days was their biggest nemesis, who was run by King Nebuchadnezzar, and other, so that's where the whole thing came about. And I remember I did ask a preacher about it. I was in Rhode Island, and I asked the preacher because I'd written a poem titled Psalm 151.
Mm.
And I said it for him, and he told me I couldn't do that. He said, you gotta
Mm.
change. So you gotta change that name. You cannot use that. You cannot add something to the Bible. I'm like, what? So because I guess maybe he told me that I couldn't. So I wanted to. And then one day I was at the African Arts Festival when it used to be by Boys and Girls High School.
Mhm.
And this Babalao came with his wisp, you know, he came with his wisp, and he saw the book, and he did his thing over the book, and he said to me, your problem why you're not selling this book? Because you're marketing the wrong way. You're marketing the wrong way. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, this book needs to be in the Santeria store. This book needs to be in the Yoruba store. He said, you're marketing this book the wrong way. And he just left. He just left, and
Mm.
he said it. He said, this book, you are marketing book this wrong, but the wrong way.
Mhm.
And I had a great experience wherein I went to the Nyabingi. Their headquarters in New York. They were based in on Nostrand Avenue, and somebody came downstairs to me and said, your book is up there and it's on top of the Bible, and I needed to see that. I wish I had a picture, and it's in the Nyabingi house, and I went up there and did my book sitting on top of the Bible. I'm like, wow. So
Mm.
I have to say, my life has been a very spiritual journey.
Mm.
There are things that you cannot explain, like it just happened.
Mhm.
And what's the name, have a story. I saw LL Cool J in an interview, who was being interviewed by Oprah. Oprah asked me if he could go back and walk the steps, walk back and come back to where he is right now. And he goes, no, Oprah. He said, I was walking and doors were open, and I don't know if I can go back and find those doors. Those doors were just open mystically. And that's what life is all about. And I can say that there are poems that I have that I they came through me. They came through me, but they are for a wider audience. So I'm just a vessel, and that's what Psalm of Osagyefo is all about. It's just about chanting down Babylon. Babylon in Rasta terminology is about the oppressed, the oppressor. Then, but Rastas believe in the Bible. They read it from their own point of view, and one of the most oppressive, I would say, system, regime, or seat of government in the Bible was Babylon. Babylon was always against, the children of Israel, and Rastas connect themselves to the children of Israel. Within the
Which,
Rasta society, they are the 12 tribes of Israel.
which leads me to my next question. You, um, with all that you do, being a performer for the Harvard School of Divinity Lecture Series, Kingdom Rise, Kingdom Fall, the winner of London's Farrago Poetry Society Best Performance Poet Award in 2002, performing during a tribute to Peter Tosh, which actually I did view on YouTube. It was amazing, and to hosting the Jazz Poetry Cafe and open mic right at Medgar Evers College, producing and hosting When Children of Yemaya Speak.
Mhm.
With all that you do, and with that mention of Rastafarianism, are you channeling Rastafarianism in all that it entails? Being the driving force behind your interaction with others and as well as your poetry.
That's a good question, because even when I, all right, I started on this journey as Rasta. It's a mystical journey that you cannot explain. You just know. I went and I knocked on every door. I went to Confucius, the Chinese mystical system. I went to Shinto. I went on Buddhism. I knocked on every door of religious hierarchy that you could think of. And the one way I found myself was in Rastafari. If you ask me, do I follow the traditional principles of some of the Rasta society today? I don't. I follow that which comes out of me. I follow that is which within me. I follow the spirit within me. I follow my grandfather. His spirit is gone, and to me, my grandfather is a light unto me. So when I did Yoruba, when I did when the children of Yoruba speak, of Yemaya speak, that was going into Yoruba. And
Mm.
most Rastas who don't understand, what I'm talking about, will say, oh, he's into that African nonsense and all of that. But I know I've gone and I've studied Yoruba. I've studied, and I know that there is power within. There's a lot of stuff that out of Africa that we don't understand. So when I did when the children of Yemaya speak, I have since then, when the children of Obatala speak, when the children of Ushun speak, you know, and I'm gonna do one when all of this is over. I'm gonna title it I also did when the children of Rastafari speak.
Mm.
And so when all of this is done, I will do one title when the children of Africa speak. So it's about showing people, like a brother came to when the children of Obatala speak.
Mhm.
And he did what everybody else did. I asked him that they wear white, and he came in a white. And a couple of days later on, he called me up and he said, brother, I came to the reading, and whoa, but to tell you the truth, I know nothing about Obatala. Could you tell me some more? you know? And I said to him, I don't know either, but I sent him to go and do his research. You know, I sent him to go do your research. Probably that was all about. And he went and he did the research, and brother, I'm in my really, I had no idea that this exists, because he grew up Christian.
Mm.
you know. And he said, I had no idea that this exists. And what's funny was when I invited him, I thought because he had this ruggedness about him, I always thought he was Haitian. And then he told me, no, brother, I'm not Haitian, I'm from the South. You know, so probably the whole reading was just about sending him home
Mm-hmm.
to go study.
Research.
You know, because sometimes you go to a poetry reading and there is 100 people in the audience and you're only speaking to one.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, we want to reach the masses. We want to reach as much people as we can. Yeah, you know, but that's why I have say if I go to a poetry reading and there's only 2 people there, I'm going to perform as great as I would perform in front of 5,000.
Mm-hmm. And you are here one-on-one on Caribbean Focus, and there may be many more listening and viewing as we're broadcasting live on Facebook as well. So with that being said, may you do us the honor to blaze up Caribbean Focus with your poetic fire.
Yeah, and in the spirit of, I think this weekend gone, St. Lucia celebrate their National Day, and I did this piece since you Lucian, you know, I love the Lucian, and I did this piece for them because my St. Lucian people are beautiful, and the sister who invite me to speak, you know, Yasmin, you know, whenever she has a little son who is a great performer, and whenever I'm doing tribute to the ancestor, by the way, I'm just one of the soldiers in organizing tribute to the ancestors. There's Tony Akeem, there is Baba Umpo, there is so much people behind the scene in making sure the tribute up to the ancestors come together, come to fruition. I'm just one of the soldiers. So whenever I call and Yasmin for her son Zach to come and perform, he always makes sure that Zach is there. Because I remember the first time Zach performed, we had to put him on a chair. He was so small, you know. So this piece is for everyone at large, but I'm sending it out there to my St. Lucian people, them, you know, who just celebrate their National Day. So here. There's a natural mystic just blowing through the wind with the 3 little birds singing lively up yourself. Bob Marley may be gone, but him spirit is still living with so much thing to say, still keeping us jamming. Because rebel music of Trenchtown will always rock, and no crazy ballad can stop that. No woman that cry, the heathen asks why. You see them can hear the music of the redemption song, but the real situation, me say them can't understand. So them a sing, could you be love? And tell us of them God above while holding us down in them concrete jungles, telling us to be humble. But as Bob would sing, we not worry about a thing because every little thing is gonna be all right, right, right. So right now we just are getting ready for the coming of Zion train to take us to a place where we no longer have to wait in vain because Babylon system will catch a fire. They are already hiding because of the guiltiness that rests on their conscience for causing so much trouble in the world. But small axe fall big tree. So now them are gonna cry for you and me. So Africa, unite, myself, wake up and live. We have the strength, we have the knowledge, myself, get up and stand up for your right. Get up and stand up and don't give up the fight, myself, ride, not to ride, and don't get ambushed and don't get trapped in them 3 o'clock roadblock. And when you're riding through the rock, don't complicate your mind. Just remember that the atomic energy can't stop Jaja time because this time them are gonna draw a bad card and them are gonna tired to see with face, and it's gonna be a big disgrace when we refuse to run in them rat race because now we know how we and them are gonna work it out with war in the east, west, north, and south, because until the color of a man's skin is of no more significant than the color of his eyes, we have got to say war. So who the cap fit, make them wear it because we're tired of talking blues, tired of seeing the people and getting used and abused, and now we are coming in from the cool and we're ready for a confrontation, and we are ready for a confrontation, and this time we are talking about the revolution fought by the real revolutionaries, just like the liberation of Africa. We're not only the sheriff going to get shot and say, oh, wicked man going to fall all in one drop because them with the belly full and them still hungry. Yet we are forever praising Jaja because Jaja live as the provider, and he will guide us through the uprising and protect us from the burning and looting. Time will tell who will be the real survivor, the oppressor, the oppressor. So come make we join together and chant the Rasta man chant. Babylon will try to tell us that we can't, but you must remember Bob Marley said them are going to fall. So one love the Bob and the positive vibration. His body is gone, but his spirit lives on. So now we judge our children must come together and make it work. We judge our children must come together and make it work, cause we don't need no more trouble. No, no, no. We don't need no more trouble. No, no, no. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been Ras Osagyefo, chanting down Babylon and spitting that very powerful, fiery poetry that I love to hear so much. The energy is so real. So for our listening and our watching and our viewing audience, where can we any kind social media connections, where can we get more information about you and getting the book and getting in contact with you?
Well, the book right now is off the market. I'm working on my second book, titled The Spirit Within, coming back to that spirit, the spirit within. And also you can reach me on Facebook at Ras, meaning head, Osagyefo. Osagyefo was a name given to me by a young lady out of Ghana, meaning the liberator. And I was scared of it in the beginning. It means it was too powerful. It's a title that was given to the Ashanti general. And the last great president in Ghana to use it was the first president, and he was Kwame Nkrumah. So that was his name. And after I heard the meaning and who used to wear it, I'm like, nope, I'm not touching it. So you can reach me at RAS Osagyefo, Osagyefo at Facebook. All right. And the same name on Instagram. And, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, it's Ras Osagyefo, spelled Osagyefo. You typing the name, and you would get his Facebook information. And as he mentioned, it's the same on Instagram as well. Osagyefo, I would like to thank you. It's always a pleasure
Yes.
meeting with you and speaking with you, and again having you on Caribbean Focus. I believe the last time you were on Caribbean Focus, we discussed the tribute to the
Mm-hmm.
African ancestors, as well as Tony Akim's the modeling
Mm-hmm.
event that was taking place at Medgar Evers. Um,
Right.
yes, which was a great success.
Mm-hmm.
So again, showing your continuous participation in the community. Um, Thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you. And continue this. This platform is a great platform. Continue, and I love your voice. You have one of them voice that, you know, you know what I'm talking about. Make people want to listen.
Thank you,
Uh,
thank you so
all right,
much.
Hermina.
You would know we've known each other for way too long.
Way too long. Like like
Yes,
them say, like them say, donkey years.
yes. So I want to thank you so much for joining us on Caribbean Focus, and thank you for our listening and viewing audience. You are tuned in to Caribbean Focus on WNYE 91.5 FM and streaming live on Facebook. I am your host, Hermina Marcellin. Thanks for listening and watching. See you soon. Bye.